Good morning, and welcome to Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. What's wrong with this side of the room? Everybody's over here this morning. You two back there are the people that are anchoring this side. The important people are on that side, yes. And those of you who are online are also important people. I'm glad to welcome you all. I know more will be arriving. The parking lot is full. So, all the little kids are out here playing soccer this morning, and their parents have filled up the parking lot. So our people will be trickling in, grumpy, probably, as they find their parking places. So be as friendly and cheery to them as you possibly can. And I'm Reverend Mary Murray Shelton. I am the community spiritual leader here at Golden Gate. I am delighted, of course, yes, you too, Coco. I'm delighted to welcome you all this morning. I'm so glad you're here. And this is the time when we begin our gathering by saying hello to one another. So what I'm going to invite you to do now is to stand up, walk around, say hi to people, introduce yourself to anybody you haven't met yet, welcome people back that you haven't seen in a while, and just generally make each other welcome. And those of you that are online, get yourselves another cup of coffee, give yourself a hug, and in just a moment, we're going to sing our opening song together, and we encourage you to sing at home, too. So just bear with us for a minute here. Isn't that great? Excellent. All right. All right, come on back. Okay, now that we've had a chance to actually establish the presence in the room with everybody here, saying good morning to each other. Good morning, practitioners. Good morning, William. Good morning back there, Rick and Jim, and all of you that are here in the sanctuary and those that are hiding out in the kitchen getting things ready for later on. You have made it. You have done this. In case you didn't know, that's what you just did. Now, this morning, our morning musician is Nathan Aswell, who lives in Vancouver, British Columbia. He was one of our musicians when I was a minister up there, so I've known Nathan for quite a while now, and he's really grown in his music. He plays this very unusual instrument called a Chapman stick, and it can be strummed, it can be pressed or tapped or plucked. So that's what he's playing. If you wonder what that thing is with all the strings, that's what he's playing. And he's got a mission in life, which is to encourage people to live big lives, one small step at a time. So that's manageable. He also does a morning musing on Wednesday mornings at 9 o'clock on his Facebook page, Nathan.Aswell. And he does a meditation and a new piece of music and everything each week. He also did that, Camino de Santiago, the 500-mile pilgrimage walk across Spain, the year that he turned 50, and he's writing a book about that now. So Nathan is doing our music this morning, and he's going to lead us into a song in just a second here called Love is Leading Me On. It's fairly easy to sing. So I'm going to invite you to stand right now and join Nathan Aswell.
Warm greetings, everyone. It's my great pleasure to be back with you this morning at Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living. In honor of Reverend Mary's theme this month, Why Our Core Values Matter, and of her theme today, There's Always a Choice, Love or Fear, I'd like to kick things off with a song by Fred Bogart called Love is Leading Me On.
Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on.
My troubles fade and my heart is strong. Love is leading me on. When my day feels like an empty cup, love is leading me on. I open up and let love come and fill me up. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. My troubles fade and my heart is strong. Love is leading me on. I feel my sorrows and I know my fear. Love is leading me on. But I know God is love and right in here. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. My troubles fade and my heart is strong. Love is leading me on. And when I worry, what would they think of me? Love is leading me on. Spirit says they'll see what they need to see. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. My troubles fade and my heart is strong. Love is leading me on. Once again, love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. My troubles fade and my heart is strong. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on. Love is leading me on.
Woo! Give yourselves a hand. Very nicely done. So now that we have sung and said hello and made all kinds of noise, now we're going to turn within and allow ourselves to go in to the center. First, we have to establish the community. Then as we go within as a community, there is a kind of a synergy that can take us deeper. So I want to invite our morning practitioner up, Reverend Judith Fleener, to do our opening right now.
God is in this room. It is in the faces and the smiles and the love and the hugs and the welcoming of each and every individual in this room. There is no place where God is not. It is the power and the presence of all creation. It is in the chaos. It is in the midst of the fear, bringing forth light and love and joy, even in the troubled times. I am one with this creative energy, the law of life, the joy, the power, the creative force. And I remember to align my mind with that place in me that has never forgotten who I truly am. And so in this place of recognition of the oneness between that divine creative energy, the source of all, and the individual being that I am, I remember to claim a shift in consciousness when I am in fear, when I am in uncertainty, when I am in distress. To bring light and love into the center of my being that has always been there, and to lead from love. To remember that love is present in the midst of all of it. And when turning my attention to that love, then a shift in consciousness can occur that allows for healing of all matters, whether they be financial, relationship, health and healing, that it is possible to return to that joyful place that is the center of light and love. And so in this place, right here and right now, I claim a shift in consciousness for each and every individual in this room, listening to this recording online, real time with us, that whatever is heavy on your heart, that love returns to lead the way. And that if there is joy in your heart, that you are already leading the way not only for yourself, but for others who feel that vibration. And so in this space of knowing, I am just so thankful for the shift in consciousness that allows each and every one of us to return to that center of being, to remind ourselves of who we are, what we are, where we are, and where we are going, which is into a world that is living in love, remembering its truth, and being divinely guided. And so for this and so much more, I give thanks, and I just let it be. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you, Judith.
I can see laughter, I can see tears. I see a choice, love or fear. What do you choose? I can see peace or I can see war. I can see sunshine or I can see a storm. What do you choose? Now I choose to love with freedom flying from my heart where the light keeps shining. And I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we could rise above. I choose love. I choose love. I can see sharing, or I can see greed. I can see caring, or poverty. What do you choose? I can see gardens, or I can see bombs. I can see life or death coming on strong. What do you choose? Now I choose to love with freedom flying from my heart where the light keeps shining. Now I choose to feel the whole world crying for the strength that we can rise above. I choose love. I choose love. I see us healing, the darkness dying. I see us dawning as one world united. So what do you choose? Love or fear? Oh, we choose. I choose to love with freedom flying from my heart where the light keeps shining. I choose to feel the whole world crying. I choose to feel one voice rising. I choose to feel us all united in
the strength that we can rise above. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love. I choose love.
All right. So we've been talking all year about, more or less, about living out loud, not living quietly. That was never a problem for me, living quietly. Being an extrovert, I embarrassed my mother many times by being too loud or asking questions that she would prefer I didn't ask people as a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old or whatever it was. But living out loud is being available to the universe, to one another. And this month, the Science of Mind theme is loving out loud, which is also interesting, like not being reticent to care about each other and let each other know that we do care about each other. What we're talking about this month is why our core values matter. Because if we're living them, we are loving out loud. Our community has 4 core values, community being the first one. I spoke about that 2 weeks ago. The second one, spiritual growth. I talked about that last week. And today I'm talking about love, but love in a particular way. So when it comes time for people to express feelings of love for a partner, say, they have to do it according to their own, their own way and their own manner. So there was a dance at the officers' club, and this naval officer was attracted to a brooch that a lovely lady was wearing, and it depicted a cluster of Navy signal flags. And the woman explained to him that the brooch was a gift from her new husband, and it meant, I love you. Now, this officer knew there was no such word as love in the Navy signal manual, but he didn't say anything. So when he got back home, he looked it up to see what that cluster of flags actually said, and it said, permission granted to lay alongside. Now, that was the way of expressing his love, taking something that was fitting for his own way of being in the world. So today I'm talking about there's always a choice. There's always a choice, love or fear. And I was thinking about how we learn over the course of our lifetimes to be afraid of more and more things. How we learn to be more and more careful and cautious and reticent about expressing ourselves fully or making ourselves vulnerable or available. And I've always found that I feel closer to somebody immediately when we've shared an experience of vulnerability somehow, or when one of us has shared with the other something like that. Somehow it opens up a larger sense of connection and possibility. Would you agree? Have you had that experience? That somehow it feels like this particular conversation has taken us deeper into our connections with each other. But those don't happen nearly as often as they could have, or maybe nearly as often as we'd like them to, because we get afraid. We get afraid of other people's criticism or judgment or disagreement. We get afraid of being ostracized or left or made fun of or just looking stupid or saying something and being caught later as having been way off about a person, a place, or a thing when we weren't being so kind in what we were saying or doing. And so we learn to rein those things in. We learn to kind of ride herd on them and be sure that we can keep them under control so they don't slip out and embarrass us or cause us to invite somebody to criticize us or reject us. Or one of the things I became really good at is couching the things I wanted to say in such a way as to anticipate the other person's criticism or disagreement and kind of handle it before they could go there. So I was trying to manage their response without letting them have it, trying to take away all of the possibilities of what their response might be, to hone them down into only the best ones, the most acceptable, comfortable responses for me. Are you with me here so far? When I probably was in ministerial school, although it might have been earlier. I can remember being in a situation where somebody made a statement that was something to the effect of that when you're with someone who's crying, oftentimes reaching out and touching them to comfort them is actually a way of shutting them up because you're not comfortable with their feelings. Either that or interrupting and saying, oh, you shouldn't feel that way because, or, oh, nobody thinks that about you, or whatever it is that actually takes away from what they're experiencing and trying to share, so that sometimes they can go away feeling unheard and heavier rather than lighter from having shared it. And that was really a mind-blowing observation for me, because I realized that that was the real motivation sometimes for me behind offering that kind of comfort, was really to get them to stop being, showing that emotion, because it was making me uncomfortable. Can you relate to this at all? Anybody ever done that to you? Yeah. Have you ever done it to anybody? Probably, yes, right? Because we feel uncomfortable with those vulnerable feelings sometimes, we want the other person to stop demonstrating or displaying that feeling. That can also be true if we're uncomfortable with any kind of physical affection, people touching us or hugging us or standing too close in our comfort zone. Can you relate to this? Yeah? And it can be difficult to get the cues that somebody doesn't want that, like either back off or please don't touch me or, whatever it is. And I can remember having people in my congregation in Huntington Beach, which was very large, who would come to me and say, when you do that thing where everybody says good morning to each other and people shake hands and some of them hug, I have a background, this person would say, where there was physical or sexual abuse, and I'm not comfortable when people that I don't know want to hug me, And so I had to say to people, when you greet each other, if you offer to hug the other person and they would rather shake hands or just say hello, let that be okay. For heaven's sake, don't grab them and hug them anyway. Because we had a staff person who used to do that because he wouldn't take no for an answer. So we have to understand that there's a large range of comfort that we have and are able to receive in terms of recognizing that welcome or love is being offered, and that it isn't being rejected just because the other person isn't comfortable with that particular manner of expressing it. That there is maybe some fear or discomfort there that needs to be not overwhelmed, but honored. That's a boundary for them, for now. Maybe later they're going to be really comfortable hugging everybody. But in this moment, no. Or for this particular person, maybe, no. When we get to be afraid, fear is this sort of big boogeyman kind of energy that is not necessarily accurate about what's going on. I mean, most of the things we're afraid of aren't really life-threatening. Would you agree? Most of the time, if we don't want somebody to find out a secret, it's not because they're going to kill us if they find out, or that it will kill us to have them know, but we feel like we're going to die of embarrassment or some kind of discomfort. 1 John says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear. We can't feel the two things at the same time. One of them will always take precedence over the other. And what happens when we let this boogeyman kind of thing overtake us You know, there's a part of us in our ego, in our self-identity, whose job it is to keep us safe and protect us. And so all those things we've collected over our lifetime to worry about or be afraid of, our ego stores all of those. So anything that resembles one of those, it will quick give us a warning, and we feel afraid. And what that does is it causes our life to contract. It causes us to actually experience shrinking possibilities about what we're willing to do or try, or where we're willing to go, or who we're willing to encounter. Our lives actually become smaller the more fearful we feel. Does this make sense? Yes? And our attempts toward more safety and security only make our lives smaller. So the illusion that it will protect us actually creates more fear rather than less. There's some studies that indicate that when somebody has a phobia, you'd think then that avoiding that thing would make them less afraid, but it doesn't. It actually increases it. Going into the presence of something that we're afraid of and keeping whatever seems to us like a safe distance, and then gradually getting used to that and moving a little closer to whatever it is, those are the things that actually diminish fear, not making our lives smaller and contracting. John Mark Green, and I don't know who he is, but I found this quote that I like, says, "If you want to tap into what life has to offer, let love be your primary mode of being, not fear." Fear closes us down and makes us retreat. It locks doors and limits opportunities. Love is about opening to possibilities, seeing the world with new eyes. It widens our heart and mind. Fear incarcerates, but love liberates. So my recognition of fear is more obvious when I see it in somebody else. My mom was an introvert. She was a sweet woman and wise in ways that were just native to her, but she was also afraid of a lot of things. She never learned to drive. She never learned to swim. Even being on a ferry boat scared her. Getting on an airplane was scary just to think about. And when I learned to swim as a child, she would sit and watch the lesson from a distance, terrified. Then, when we went home, she would make sure that whatever I was supposed to practice in the sink, you know, with breathing and stuff like that, if the teacher said you had to practice 10 minutes a day or whatever it was, she made sure I did that very thing, because otherwise she was sure I was going to drown. Once when I was driving back on my own from someplace where I was doing a long-distance drive, I called her to let her know I was home, and she said, "Well, when did you get back?" And I told her, and she said, "Oh, I thought you were going to get back 2 hours earlier than that. If I'd known you were still driving, I would have worried for another couple of hours." For some reason, in her mind, her worrying about me helped keep me safe. But what I recognize is how much her life was smaller because there were so many things that scared her, so many things that she was afraid of or uncomfortable with. The first time, or maybe the only time, she came to a religious science service. Now, my mom grew up in a fundamentalist family. She had a grandmother who preached on street corners, which was very embarrassing to my mother. But then she married my father, who was a Catholic. And in order to do that, she became a Catholic. So she had both of those backgrounds. So one of the things about being Catholic is we were not ever supposed to attend a church that wasn't Catholic. So it was a scary thing to do that. So when I first got into religious science, we brought her to a service once. It was a church that was not much bigger than this. The pews were wood. There were still pews in this church. And we had a choir that we hadn't yet joined. My husband at the time and I had not yet joined the choir. So we were with her sitting out there. And the talk that day from Reverend Jim Munson, who was the minister here at one time, was about love, right? After the service, my mom had 3 things to say. The pews are too hard, the choir is too loud, and why does he keep talking about love all the time? It was not comfortable for her to be there. That fear didn't allow her to experience what was available there. It didn't match what she needed to feel safe. So when we're in fear, when we're in that absence of love, there is a sense of need or want or yearning or complaint or criticism or disappointment or discouragement. Those kinds of things are all elements of our experience of fear. We first got the idea that there were only 2 emotions, love and fear, I think, from A Course in Miracles. It said, that's all there is out there. Everything that isn't love, everything that is not love, is a call for help or healing. Everything. So whenever we're not feeling loving and open towards something, on some level, what we're experiencing is fear, whether it looks like sadness or anger or disappointment or embarrassment. And I know when I feel embarrassed, I feel fearful that other people will see that I'm embarrassed because I did something stupid or I was wrong and I let it be known, right? So when we step into love, then there is automatically an expansion of life and energy within us and around us. There is an increase in possibilities. There is faith that we're safe, that there is love here, and that all is well. We're okay in this safe space where we feel like we belong. Jerry Jampolsky, who was a student of A Course in Miracles, wrote a book called Love is Letting Go of Fear. And sometimes the letting go of fear is simply being willing to acknowledge out loud, I feel afraid. Jerry Jampolsky tells a story in that book. When he was a resident at a psychiatric hospital, they had a patient who was very verbally abusive and violent. He was, I think, a paranoid schizophrenic, but quite severely impaired. And he was in a locked ward. And he was in his room pacing and throwing things and yelling and just being really angry. And Jerry was on duty. And so he went and he stood outside the room and he watched this man for a while. And then something happened for Jerry, and he said to him, I want to come in and talk to you so that I can help you feel better, but right now I'm really scared seeing how angry you are, and I'm wondering if you feel scared too. And the man stopped and he said, you bet I feel scared. And something then allowed them to interact with each other. So they kept yelling back and forth to each other about how scared they were. And finally, Jerry was able to go in to the room and talk to him. Now, I'm paraphrasing this story, but that's kind of generally the idea. That when we acknowledge that the reason we're behaving a particular way, the reason we're defensive or angry or whatever it is actually because we're fearful. If we can acknowledge that and say, right now I'm feeling a little afraid or uncomfortable because of this. I'm worried about this, or I'm imagining this is happening, or I'm guessing that you're thinking or feeling this. And I recognize that there are people that it is not safe to do that with. But that is not everybody by any means. So we want to grow into a better place. Rudyard Kipling said once, I always prefer to believe the best of everybody. It saves so much trouble. We get a felt sense of safety and warmth and ease when we are letting go of fear and stepping into that place. And most of the time, that is safe to do because our fear is disproportionate to the situation. Ernest Holmes, our founder, wrote in this thing called You God is love. God is givingness. Love is givingness. Love is also forgiveness. There is a law of cause and effect which automatically compels us to reap as we sow. The day we cease to sow error, we begin to reap truth. When we stop sowing hate, we will reap love. When we stop sowing unforgiveness, we'll be forgiven. When we stop sowing fear, we'll reap faith. So there are a lot of things that in the letting go of them, we get something back that's even greater than what we thought that thing was doing for us. And then, of course, I always love the statement from Luciano di Crescenzo, who was an Italian director and actor. He said, "We are each of us angels with only one wing, and we can fly only by embracing one another." That's an image that I love, that we fly together, that we join and connect with each other, and that enlarges that comfort zone, that makes peace with what is, while still being able to envision what could improve or be better in the future. So there are ways that we can do this, and part of it is just by letting ourselves off the hook and feeling like we have to be perfect all the time. The more we are taking pride in our perfectionism, the more like we're driving ourselves crazy. And so what we want to be able to do is, give ourselves a break. For heaven's sakes, we're human beings after all. We're human becomings in a sense because we're waking up to who we are. So I want to share with you a story about an experiment that was done. See, the power of choice, that's a vast power with amazing possibilities for us. Just the choice between love or fear is enormous, and we have that choice 24/7, all the time. And no matter how much we choose fear, we still have an equal possibility of choosing love. Always. It never diminishes. It doesn't go away. It might feel proportionally more huge to try and do it, but that's an illusion too. So this was actually an experiment done by the HeartMath Institute. Oh, first I want to say this to you. So, just to kind of summarize this, when we choose love, we grow and expand. When we choose fear, if choice is really the word, we become static and stuck and contracted. So the HeartMath Institute did this experiment. And in this experiment, what they did was they placed some human placenta DNA, which is the purest DNA there is, in a container from which they could measure changes in the DNA. And they did 28 vials of this DNA. And they gave one each to 28 trained researchers. Now, these researchers were trained in how to generate and feel feelings intensely. And each of them had these strong emotions. So what they discovered was that the DNA actually changed its shape according to the feelings of the researchers. Now think about this. This DNA was in a test tube. It wasn't in their bodies. Think about what the DNA in our bodies does. If these researchers could affect this DNA that wasn't even theirs and wasn't even in their own bodies. So when they felt gratitude, love, and appreciation, the DNA started to relax and expand, and the strands lengthened. The length of the DNA increased. And when they felt fear, anger, frustration, or stress, the DNA tightened up. It actually became shorter, and it even switched off a number of the DNA codes. The shut down codes in the DNA were reversed and switched back on again when those researchers went back to feelings of love and joy and gratitude and appreciation. So the experiment then was repeated later with HIV-positive patients. These were not trained researchers. These were just people who were HIV positive, right? And their feelings of love, gratitude, and appreciation created 300,000 times the immune strength or their immune resistance that they had when they had focusing on positive feelings. And the changes went beyond the effects of electromagnetics. Now that's amazing to think about. When we generate feelings of love, gratitude, and appreciation, it actually strengthens our immune system. And when we do the opposite, we actually shut it down and turn certain elements of our DNA off, some of those genetic expressions. I wonder sometimes if the reason that our immune system becomes weakened when we have experienced some kind of a loss is because when we're in the grief process, we are really experiencing disappointment, discouragement, loss, sadness, and it suppresses the immune system. It pulls in. Not that we shouldn't do that work, but that we can do things to take care of ourselves in that situation, to help ourselves in that process so that we're not quite so immune suppressed. Are you with me here on this so far? Greg Braden says this illustrates a form of energy that connects all of creation. The energy appears to be a tightly woven web that connects all matter. So essentially, we're able to influence this web of creation through the vibration of our strongest feelings. When they held the DNA, it was in test tubes that were not part of their own body, their own system, and yet they were affected. What happens when you come into the presence of someone who is angry and frustrated and critical? It may weaken your own immune system. Vice versa, when you come into the presence of someone who is uplifted, who is in lovingness, who is experiencing gratitude and appreciation for life. If you're not, they might annoy the hell out of you, but they might also help raise your immune system just by being in their vibration. Their emotional state also can be caught and matched. And I know there has been research done that shows that the person with the strongest sense of feelings has an influence over those whose feelings, whatever they are less intense. So you come into a room with somebody who's really angry, pretty soon everybody in the room is feeling discomfort. No matter how they were feeling coming in, if their level of feeling is less intense than this person's. Are you with me here? We can generate a sense of massive well-being. If you've ever been to a retreat where everybody meditates together and they pray together and they sing together and they go to workshops together, the collective vibration of the group increases as they spend those days together until they become synchronized to a certain degree. Likewise, if we go to, say, a town council meeting where everybody's really mad about something that's being created in the town, and a lot of people are opposed to it. And you know, when people are opposed to something, there's usually a lot of energy behind that. When they stand up at the microphone and express it, they're not just talking facts and figures. There's a lot of emotion back there. And that can become a kind of mass hysteria in the room. You can stir up a whole bunch of people to do stuff they would never do individually on their own, except that there's a kind of sweeping energy that lifts us into it. And maybe you've experienced it. Anybody in here ever been to a rock concert? So this kind of feeling moves us as individuals and groups because God bless whatever that is, whoever that is, wherever they're going for, if it's a fire or an emergency, let's know that the people on the other end of that fire truck are very well taken care of in this moment, that whatever they need is available to them, that everybody who's coming is mentally guided and directed by the infinite mind within them to know exactly what to do. Okay, and for the drivers, that they're safe, that they're clear, and all the people on that truck are well equipped today to do what needs to be done when they get to where they're going. And so it is. Yeah, yeah. So this is our work in the world, to bring forward more love. And the only way to do that is one by one, starting with ourselves. Some days I feel like I don't like myself very much because I am dwelling in this negativity and it doesn't feel good. And when that happens, if I can be aware of it enough, then I can take a breath or two and begin to let it go, just enough to come back a little bit into myself, you know? The main thing about our practice is remembering to do it. Remembering to do it at those moments when we feel disinclined to try and feel better or do better. Those are the moments that we're really called to do that. And anytime we remember and do it just a little bit, we're changing the whole vibration of the planet. You know that thing about when a butterfly flaps its wings on one part of the world, and on the other side of the world there's a thunderstorm or something. Or maybe the sun comes out. Why does it have to be negative? So that's us too. We're the butterfly flapping the wings. And when we remember to flap them just a little bit, it lifts everything up. Think about those places in the world that need this the most. We can give our time and our talent and our volunteering and our treasure to support them at a long distance away from them. And we can also just sit down and send love to that place in the world and everybody involved in it. Not taking any sides, if sides are what's happening there, but sending a love to that place just because it makes a difference in this moment. Maybe a small difference. It doesn't matter how much of a difference it makes. Every difference matters. So we have decided as a community that love is one of our core values. And this is what we're committed to then, whether you knew this or not. Our definition of love as a core value is open-hearted connection. We can't do open-hearted connection when we're immersed in fear. Would you agree? It's really tough. Open-hearted connection given with warmth and kindness. Sometimes that's easy. Not always, though. But that's what that value means here in this room. That's what we want to do. So one of the things that has to do with choosing love is our experience of gratitude and appreciation. So I want to invite our current Leadership Council President and our most recent past Leadership Council President to come up right now, because it's time for a little bit of appreciation and acknowledgement. I know. So first of all, Frank, come and stand up here so that everybody can see you well and they can see you online as well. So Frank was not only our most recent past Leadership Council president, he's also been a practitioner for more than 20 years. He's been a teacher. He's been on the Leadership Council, Core Council, Board of Trustees, whatever we've called it over the many years. I think, what, 3 times? Four times. This last time, he wasn't sure he wanted to do it at all, but I asked him to pray on it, and there he was. So Frank showed up. He did diligently what was asked of him, what was required of him, and well. And Frank is not a thing person. Usually when a Leadership Council president retires, when their term is over and they step down, we give them something, as a gift, but it was hard to figure out what a thing would be to give to Frank. And Bruce, one of our current Leadership Council members, came up with this idea of giving him mala beads for meditation, because meditation is one of the things Frank is very devoted to in his spiritual practice. So these mala beads are to enhance your spiritual practice. And I think they're made from Rudraksha seeds. And they are specifically devoted to Shiva. And Ganesha is Shiva's son, and one of the Hindu expressions of God that I particularly like because he's the destroyer of obstacles. And Shiva is a destroyer of obstacles, but not necessarily gently, but he is a destroyer of obstacles. And Ganesha is also the expression of fortuitous new beginnings. So, in honor of helping us let go of a certain amount of obstacles and welcoming in newness, I wanted to acknowledge Frank in this way. And the Leadership Council always in on this idea of looking for the Rudraksha mala. And Karen also wants to say something to Frank and present him with something as well.
So usually this is done at,
Just like that, love.
Oh, okay. So usually this is done at the annual meeting back in March, back when we did all of that. But Frank very generously extended his term as president so I could complete my studies as a practitioner, because I couldn't take on that and be president at the same time. So I'm very grateful that he's doing it on an off time, not on the standard normal time that we do. And I also want to acknowledge that this term that he just completed was a little bit strange for all of us because it was during COVID. And this man went above and beyond for Golden Gate during COVID. Not only did he personally reach out to the congregants to make sure y'all were doing okay, and as an introvert, that just like petrified me, right? I'm like, I have to do what? Oh my gosh. So I am so glad that he was there to do that, to reach out to all of you during COVID to make sure everything was going. And then when this facility wasn't opening up yet and we all wanted to come back together, he found us another place to meet. I mean, he did a lot to make sure that we could all come back to be together in this loving community and not facing the fear of what's going on, right? So here we are back in our loving community because Frank went above and beyond what he needed to do as president. And between him, his shoes, and Gail's shoes as president, I can't fill those shoes, so sorry. What I got for Frank was two things, and one of them is creatively hanging on the Frost family craft drying rack back in Santa Rosa. So I'll have to give it to you another time. But it is on one side, it's a keychain so that wherever he goes, he can remember us. One side is the tarot card for fortune, so that you always know that you have good fortune with you. And on the other side is the emblem of Science of Mind, so that he knows that your fortune is always tied with us and with Science of Mind, and that you know the true source. But on the meditation theme, I being an altar person, had to do this. First of all, I have to get out the thing from behind it. There's a cloth so he can make an altar wherever he is, because you never know when you need an altar.
It folds up for travel.
It folds up for travel. And then you can place this on it, which is kind of weird looking until you do this. Okay. Put that on there.
Also for meditation.
So wherever you go, you can remember us and have good meditation.
Let's acknowledge our retiring Leadership Council President, Frank. Frank Lang. Want to say something? Don't go away.
We're also, I want to point out, welcoming the new president, Karen, who I want you also to acknowledge, please, right now. It was a great honor to serve in this way over the last several years. It was extraordinary. We moved twice, you might remember.
Yeah.
And we were shut down when my term began. We were just doing video stuff, and Mary did an incredible job. You will remember broadcasting from her house, living room,
Office,
study,
home.
office, yeah. And those were memorable sermons. And we have just continued to do what we do, best through all of this period of time. And I want to express my gratitude to Mary for just keeping things as steady as they were. Her message has been consistent and beautiful as it was today. And we can look forward to continuing that. And honestly, we're in really good shape. I mean, we got there's only 40 people here, but our church is healthy and we're doing well. And I want us all to have the consciousness to invite more people here, because the message and the continuity, the 40 years of history that we have, they really count for something. And I know you all feel that. And please invite your friends. That's what I always say when I'm up here.
Thanks, Frank. Now, don't leave. You can go. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Now, also, as well as acknowledging Karen as the new Leadership Council, I don't need this one, president, she is also a newly licensed practitioner. And we did not want Karen to have to wait until the practitioner retreat in November to receive her practitioner stole. So we're giving it to her this morning. This is your bag for that. No, just a minute, don't go away. Now, I want to tell you what it takes to become a practitioner. Before you even sit down at the prayer table or do a prayer for somebody in the congregation as an official practitioner, it takes about between 3.5 and 4 years of classes to become a practitioner. And at each stage of professional practitioner training, which is the last 2 years, at each stage, at each quarter, you have an exam, a written exam you have to pass. At the end of the year, you have to be ready to go on to the next one. When you finish the second year, you have an overall licensing exam you have to take, not even counting the 3 you had to do already that year. You have to take a big licensing exam, and if you pass that, then you have to go and sit with a panel of 3, a practitioner and 2 ministers. 2 practitioners and 1 minister. And they do an oral interview with you where you have to do treatment for them. You have to demonstrate that you understand how the creative law works and how to explain that to people and how to help people, how to give them affirmations for homework or whatever they do. And then, if you pass that, then the Leadership Council, Centers for Spiritual Living, has to put their stamp of approval on it. Then you're officially a practitioner. Karen has done all that. And so she is ready, and I'm telling you, she is ready to pray up a storm for you. So when she's on the table, or if you want a private session, here is one more practitioner to choose from, and she's a good one. Yes. Now, that's not the only acknowledgement of appreciation that we want to do this morning. Lori, come on up. We have 3 practitioners who, this year, have just completed 20 years as practitioners. And so, this morning, we want to present them with their 20-year pins. So, Gail Durkin, Rick Walt, and Dana Yule, would you all please come up? Come on up here. Now these pins, come on up, Rick, and these pins represent 20 years of service at this church. On the table, volunteering for all kinds of stuff. And Gail, as Frank mentioned earlier, or as Karen mentioned earlier, was past president of the Leadership Council for a good number of years and really made a huge difference in the work that she did. She has served in umpteen bazillion different ways, and so has Rick, and so has Dana. Rick's been on the Leadership Council also for a very long time. He only went off recently. And Dana serves right now as our Leadership Council practitioner. These three have achieved 20 years. So each one of them, well-deserved, is receiving their 20-year pin this morning. And let's give them a rousing thank you for all they've done. And do you want to say something to the congregation about what this means to you, having served for 20 years? One sentence, one word.
It's been a life journey, let's put it that way. And I'm so proud to be part of this community. It's the longest commitment I've ever had, I think. And it gives me a sense of belonging and continuity that I've never had in my life. So appreciate it.
It was something that I saw and I said, I want that, and I went for it. And one of our teachers is here today, and that's Michael Hart.
Yes. And I do want to say, go ahead and hang on to that. I do want to say, Michael, can you stand up? That Michael achieved her 20 years last year, 2 years ago, but she never got her pin, and I was going to bring it and give it to her this morning, and then I left it in the office again. So I will make sure that Michael gets her 20-year pin, but she has been a master teacher of practitioner students. So we really want to honor Michael Hart also, so that when she comes next month, she'll be able to wear her 20-year pin on her stole. And Rick, last but not least.
Wow, 20 years. Incredible highs, and I lovingly got to examine all my lows. And it was just so great to have this community and to be in service to this community and to receive the love from this community. Just thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, Dana. Yes, so now you can sit down. Thank you. Thank you. So glad. We are so blessed for a community our size to have so many seasoned practitioners. I mean, out of our 28 or so practitioners, we have a whole bunch who are practitioner emeritus, which means they've served at least 20 years. So when you're sitting with one of those practitioners, they have a wealth of experience in knowing the truth for you. And so on that note, let's do a short acknowledgement. So in our hearts right now, we know that the infinite presence lives in us, around us, and also as us. So we let ourselves experience the gratitude, the amazement, the love, the joy of acknowledging those who have served us well, of receiving their love and service with great gratitude and appreciation, and of knowing that we take what they have given and we carry it out into the world to be an even greater blessing because of the empowerment they have helped us with in their prayers. We're grateful for every one of the practitioners here at Golden Gate. And so in this deep gratitude, we let this prayer go and just let it be. And together we say, and so it is. And please stand and join me for the morning's affirmation. Love, this is all together. Love relaxes and lets go of trying to avoid difficulties. Love knows safety is an essential truth of who we are. I breathe through any moments of fear and clinging, trusting the truth beyond all temporary conditions and appearances. I am safe. I choose love over fear. And so it is. Yes, thank you. So I'd like to invite the ushers up as we prepare to receive this morning's offering. Please know that your offerings make a huge difference in what Golden Gate is able to do and how. If you want to donate this morning in any way and you weren't already prepared to do it, for those of you in the room, on the flip side of your program in the lower left corner are all the ways you can give. And for those who are online too, or those of you here, if you want to text a gift, you can do that at the number on the screen. We take this time every Sunday morning to bless the offering. Why do we do that? Because of what I was talking about this morning. This money, these gifts that we're about to bless, they've traveled all over the world. Whether it's physical money or it's money that's represented by your check or your credit card or your whatever, all of that comes with its own vibration. It's carrying its own vibration. But in this room, we want it to carry out of here a vibration of love. And because we do this together in blessing, we increase, through our synergy, we increase the level of love carried in this offering that's about to be received. So I invite you to hold your gift over your heart, or if you're giving it with a loved one, hold it in your hands together. Those of you who aren't giving a gift today, just put your hands over your heart, because you too are a gift here to us today. And we say this in unison also. This gift I give is God in action. I now send it forth to bless and to prosper. I know that everywhere it goes, it is creating a world living in love, one heart and one thought at a time. And so it is. Go ahead.
I breathe rather than try, relax rather than offer effort, smile rather than struggle, be rather than do, for my true power lies in releasing resistance. I breathe rather than try, relax rather than offer effort, smile rather than struggle, be rather than do, for my true power lies in releasing resistance. rather than offer effort, smile rather than struggle, be rather than do, for my true power lies in releasing resistance. I breathe rather than try, relax rather than offer effort, smile rather than struggle, be rather than do.
So on behalf of Golden Gate Center for Spiritual Living, we do, all of us here, accept and receive this offering, including anything that's come into Golden Gate this past week. And we also give grateful thanks for each other, for our love, for our releasing of fear. And we imbue this offering with that in gratitude. And so it is. Now, for any of you who may be here for the very first time, at the back on that table, there are welcome packets and other handouts you can feel free to pick up. In the welcome packet, there's a blue card. If you fill this out and turn it in back there, Galen, who's at the table, is going to give you a little book called Nourishing Thoughts. It's filled with little affirmations that can help you refocus on love. It's our thank you for being here today. It's our invitation to you to come back and be with us in the future. And we also want to appreciate everybody who did something today that assisted in our being here and having a successful morning service. So let's acknowledge all these folks, and particularly, I want to acknowledge Karen for the altar, which is, you know, pumpkins can either be the great pumpkin, like, oh wow, wonderful, or they can be those carved, nasty, really scary-looking pumpkins, and Coco doesn't like those. So this is love or fear expressed in a pumpkin theme this morning. So let's acknowledge everybody for their participation. Now, you know that we deferred the membership class from last week to start this week because we had trouble getting everybody together. So we have 3 people now in the membership class. It starts today from 1:30 to 3:30 on Zoom. If you want to be in the membership class for the next 3 weeks and you have not yet signed up, Galen has a flyer about what the membership class is about back there, and you can come and talk to me if you want to participate. But it's from 1 to 3 for the next 3 weeks. Then we're going to have a reception to celebrate the new members, and then we're going to really do a hoop-de-doo to welcome them on the following Sunday morning. So that's what's coming up, and we look forward to celebrating them very soon. If you would like to participate with us in serving the San Francisco Marin Food Bank, each month there is a 2-hour session, that's it, at the San Rafael warehouse for the food bank. And it's about packing food that can then go to local warehouses near where people live, so if they have food insecurity, they can come and get food for their families. 2 hours is a wonderful gift to pass on love in a physical way. So contact Ellen Nicosia. Her information is up here on the screen. If you want to get on that list for October 10th, the September date has already passed now, but the October date is coming up, and so please let her know that you'd like to come and participate. She would welcome that. We have a workshop also coming up in October that is going to be facilitated by Leslie Giannetti and Lori Greer, 2 of our licensed prayer practitioners here, on sacred grieving. We recognize that over this past maybe 2 or 3 years, there have been a lot of losses in all kinds of ways. People have gone out of business because of the lack of customers during COVID, or people have died or died from illnesses, or there have been divorces, other things that have happened. And with all those things, if we want to get back to love, we've got to go through the grieving process. Generally, we don't go directly from the loss into really feeling whole, complete, and perfect, even though we are. So they're doing a workshop coming up on Sunday, October 15th at the Sunrise Center, which is down the block, and it will be from 1 to 3 p.m. It's a love offering, and you can sign up at the back table. The sign-up sheet is on the activity table back here to participate in that. You can also talk to Leslie or Lori. Would you guys stand up and wave so they know who you are, in case you have questions, all right? And lastly, I want to welcome you to this Wednesday evening's visioning. That's the Wednesday night meditation this week at 7:15. You can join us on Zoom by going to the website calendar. So on the website, it's under the classes and events tab. Go to the calendar, look at Wednesday, click on that event, and it'll open up so that you can see the Zoom link and click there to join us. Everybody's welcome. All right. Now I'd like to invite all the practitioners, including Karen in her new stole, to encircle us this morning as we prepare for our closing prayer. So just let the consciousness of this circle infuse you with love. As we know together, there is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is whole, complete, and perfect. And that is my life and all of our lives and all life right now. God is all there is, including us. So the mind of the divine, whatever we need from that mind, is already within us. And it knows. It knows how to help us know what we need to know, be intuitively guided to what we need to do and how we need to grow. And we're deeply grateful that we are supported by the universe in this way, that we are one with it, inseparable from it, and that includes us all in that oneness. So with gratitude this morning, we allow ourselves to unwind and open up a little more in love with the recognition of this truth. We let this prayer go with peace and gratitude and simply let it be as it always has been. And so it is. And now please stand and join us for the closing blessing. And we say this as one. I now walk so that whoever walks beside me dwells in the presence of God, and whoever places a hand in mine is lifted. And whoever thinks of me is illumined with God consciousness, for spirit and all people and I are one eternally. And so it is.
Thanks very much, everyone, for being here this morning. I'd like to take us out with a fun song of mine called A Prayer to You.
May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, a prayer to you. May all that I think and all that I do be a prayer to you, a prayer to you, my love. In every face may I see you, in every voice I do be a prayer to you, a prayer